E aloha no ka aina nuia ke aku ai. A ka luna o ka mauna a mauloa ka piina ki e lo ai. I lalo I ke ala pono hu a e ka puna vai e o lai. Piha ke aloha ka lahui e o e Hawaii ku ha e la. A vai ulu ke aloha la e ai. E o nā au makua, e o nā kupuna, e o kanaka, e o nā keiki, e o kākoa mauloa e. E ola. Aloha e nā hoa maka mai ka lahi ke a kalaukau. First and foremost, it's a pleasure to be here today. If I can have you all, I am a primary care physician. But for those of you who know me, know I love the ocean. And I love to go fishing, what we call holo holo. I remember spending time with my grandfather fishing, hearing all of the stories of what fishing used to be in Hawaii. And I've always wondered what it would be like to one day go back in time to actually see those colossal schools of moi, to smell the limu or seaweed for miles on the shoreline, or to be able to provide any type of fish to quench the ono for the ohana. For my grandfather, fishing was not just a pastime, it was a way of life. It was a kuleana responsibility where success was defined by how abundant the ocean remained even after you returned home. To my grandfather, he would say lavapono, and I would see him pack up all his gear and walk away, even when the fishing was off the hook. I always kind of wondered, why would he do that? But our ancestors had many traditions to preserve our fisheries. They would ho'omalu, or to protect vulnerable species during times of spawning. They would take only what's needed and remember to never deplete this precious resource. Now, many of you may be wondering at this point, was this supposed to be a talk about fishing? I love to talk about fishing, but today it's a talk about healthcare. But I share this story because no matter how dedicated my grandfather was to lavapono, he alone could not protect the entire ocean ecosystem. In order for lavapono to work, the entire community needed to subscribe to his principles. Much is the same in healthcare. If we expect to achieve health equity for our people, we cannot do it by ourselves. If we expect to heal our people, then we must indigenize all healthcare systems. For those of you who don't know, Kaiser Permanente is the largest private healthcare organization in the United States with more than 12.6 million members spanning across 8 states, including the District of Columbia. Our care is led by 24,000 physicians in Permanente Medical Groups. Now, from my beginning of my time there, I've experienced nothing but a mission-driven and patient-centered culture. Yet, as large as this organization is, we can always do better to ensure our people achieve health equity. Now, I remember one of my very first patients I began to care for, fresh out of residency, a young Native Hawaiian man, and I couldn't understand why he seemed so resistant to taking medications. Now, he had poorly controlled diabetes, and his grandfather, his father, and most recently his younger brother passed of complications related to diabetes. After many clinic visits trying to engage him, eventually one day he pulled me on the side and said, "Hey doc, it's not that I don't want to take medications, it's that at the end of the day, I have to make decisions. Do I pay to pick up the medications you're prescribing for me? Or do I put food to feed my family?" So, our people go through many struggles, and it quickly became clear to me as I've had more encounters just like this one, that in mainstream healthcare systems, even with best intentions, we can do so much more for our community. Now, each day I try to do my best for every single patient, but it wasn't until I had the title of Chief of Clinic that I began to see the potential to influence greater change. This is a slide that I show. Let's go back. many of my colleagues, and frankly, anybody who listens, it's a slide that highlights life expectancies per zip code. Now, if we focus purely on the island of Oahu, you can see that there are different areas highlighted in yellow and in blue. People who reside in areas highlighted in yellow are expected to live 10 years less than those who reside in areas highlighted in blue. How can your zip code determine how healthy you are or how long you live? That is unacceptable. Now, many of you may be thinking, this could be proxy to describe income disparity. It's possible. But it's important to show because it helps to communicate the gravity of our situation. You see, my clinic serves that bright yellow area on the west coast of Oahu, circled in red, which just so happens to be the community with the largest concentration of Native Hawaiians in the entire world. Now, how could I, a Native Hawaiian physician, not do everything possible in my power to make this pono all right? I began to realize that Kaiser Permanente serves a large concentration of Native Hawaiians, not just in Hawaii. Kaiser Permanente has a large footprint in California and Washington, the number 2 and number 3 states with the largest concentration of Hawaiians outside of Hawaii. So, if we expect all of our patients to achieve high quality outcomes, then we must do better for our Native Hawaiian patients. There's lots of organizations that primarily serve Native Hawaiians, and they do a fantastic job. But healthcare must be effective wherever indigenous people seek care. Now, this is where the excitement starts to begin for me. Back in 2017, I was given the opportunity to bring up Kaiser Permanente's first next-gen facility. I was given the opportunity to bring up what we call Kaiser Permanente's newest standard of clinic. And the next gen, what it does is it incorporates the latest of technological and workspace design to enable an atmosphere of teamwork, collaboration, and communication amongst all partners of the healthcare team. Now, it even calls for a dedicated community space, also the first of its kind for us here in Kaiser Permanente. Now, while this may seem awe-inspiring, I still felt like this fell short of what I believe could truly make an impact for the community with the largest concentration of Native Hawaiians. We needed to transform the concept of what NextGen is all about, to make it also patient-centered for our indigenous patients. And what that meant was incorporating Native Hawaiian principles of healing, cultural identity, and also addressing social determinants of health. All of these factors that could potentially influence or hinder a patient from achieving health equity. Now, under the direction of our prior leadership, we began to make strides with how we approach Native Hawaiian health. We looked at specifically our colorectal screening measures, and what we found was that culturally competent approaches dramatically improve screening rates. We also hired folks who specifically look at our data, Dr. Maile Tauli, who I wish was here today, to look at what we can do to close care gaps and develop initiatives to make our care more equitable. Now, our clinic was slated to open in April of 2021. It received a special name called Kīpukaoha. Kīpukaoha symbolizes creating this oasis or natural clearing so that flourishing growth in health and wellness can emerge. And eventually, what we did was we went on to develop a vision statement specifically for Kīpukaoha, which reads to combine this next-gen technology with Permanente medicine and culturally grounded programs and community partnerships. Well, to help build excitement for what we were trying to accomplish and within the organization, what we did was developed a video trailer that I'd like to play for you all here.
Imagine walking miles on barren lava fields to see a patch of forest teeming with life. This Kipuka is a forest left unscathed by destructive lava flow. It is a place that allows oha, or flourishing growth. Kīpukaoha is where healing, growth, and partnership can happen to help navigate toward wellness. It is the next era of healthcare delivery, leveraging technology and design to enable a collaborative team approach to health and wellness. It is a gathering place to strengthen relationships between healthcare providers and our community, where mo'olelo or cultural stories connect our well-being to the health of our aina or environment. It is a place of connection that honors our community to support total health and wellness where it is needed most.
So you see, Kīpukaoha quickly became this pilot for any and all initiatives pertaining to Native Hawaiian health. My nursing partner and I will share a little bit more about the tactics that we employed specifically at Kīpukaoha in our breakout session after this keynote. But I'd like to highlight for you all 4 things that we focused on very early on in our work. So the first thing was to create a sense of place, to make Kīpukaoha someplace that people feel comfortable to coming, not just when they're sick, but also when they're feeling well. We created artwork and also developed that walking pathway that surrounds our clinic that incorporates mo'olelo or cultural stories to help connect people to this aina or land. We also developed cultural training programs to give all of our clinic staff and providers tools on how to better communicate and also to start to become ambassadors for this way of thinking. The second thing we focused on is community. So we have this fantastic community engagement center, the first of its kind for us here in Hawaii. And COVID-19 definitely posed challenges to us, but what we did was we pushed through and developed almost like a grassroots type partnership with various organizations, many of whom we've never engaged before. But these organizations are well equipped to serve our Native Hawaiian patients and specifically address social determinants of health, such as job trainings, food insecurity, housing. And we hope that as COVID-19 evolves, what we're going to do is expand our community engagement model to bring on more partners and to eventually have classes within our community space. The third thing we focused on is mentorship. So we engaged our Native Hawaiian physicians and created opportunities to inspire the next generation of healthcare providers. Kīpukaoha is now the home for our Native Hawaiian Health Elective, and now a dedicated repayment site for those who do receive scholarships through our Native Hawaiian Health Scholarship Program. The fourth thing, and in my opinion, one of the most important things, is really to focus on cultural values, specifically aloha aina, which is love for the land. Now, it's important for us not to just focus on the building itself, but to develop this kipuka, this oasis, so to speak, for our people west of Oahu. And to really develop this was shockingly one of the most challenging pieces of this project. But now we have this flourishing outdoor classroom that we can use to engage, that we can use to teach culture, and we can use to help connect people to this aina with the understanding that deep down inside, our health as kanaka is directly connected to the health of our aina, or land. So within this, within our traditional gardens, we have Native Hawaiian healing plants along with kalo or taro patches. Pictured here is part of our executive team that just recently came out and participated with a kalo harvest. Now, shockingly, our work is starting to become more evident in subtle and maybe not so subtle ways. Just about a month ago, we had a kalo harvest, and one of our longtime patients, Uncle Gary, came up to us. And he immediately started to identify all of these native plants that he remembers his kupuna, or elder, teaching him about all of the different medicinal properties. So Uncle Gary went up to say, oh, hey, how awesome is it? Yeah, I can come to one place. I can see my doc. I can get medications, but walk right outside and also get medicines as well. So surprisingly, now our non-indigenous physicians and other specialists, such as our oncologists, our cardiologists, other surgeons, are starting to take lessons of Kīpukaoha and applying them to their vulnerable populations, not just in Hawaii, but in other regions of Kaiser Permanente as well. So there's a retired physician from our medical group. Many of you may know him, Dr. Nathan Wong. He was former chief of family medicine, also former president of Ahahui on Kauka. And what he says is so striking. He says, many people feel like the golden age of medicine is over. But what many people fail to realize is that medicine is the gold. So we're just embarking on a journey at Kīpukaoha, just having marked our 1-year anniversary. And each day I realize it's a privilege and an honor to serve our community in healthcare, but it's a tremendous kuleana, and I know many of you out there feel the same way. But we cannot do this alone. In order for us to heal our people, we must bring indigenous principles and cultural identity into all healthcare systems. I believe that this will not only be better for our people, it will be better for everyone. I keep going back and thinking of all the lessons that my grandfather gave me, sitting there on the shoreline fishing with him and hearing all the stories, and how many of these lessons still hold true to this day, and I bring many of them into my medical practice. It helps to shape me into the Kauka or physician I am. And just as my grandfather gave me all of these little pearls of wisdom, I'd like to leave you all with this belief. Just as indigenous fishing practices can improve the health of our oceans, indigenous healing practices can improve the health of all people. So it's truly been an honor to be able to speak with you today on behalf of Ahahui on Kauka. I'm truly humbled to be able to speak on behalf of our Hawaii contingency, and just wanted to mahalo everybody. Aloha.